Hey everybody, I'm back doing another commentary. This time it's a short commentary for the class of 1894. This story came to me. I really was been wanting to tell a ghost story, or some kind of ghost story, and then I've been thinking a lot about I don't know, just that particular time period, and you know, a lot of those classic haunted stories from early America before the turn of the new century. I always liked those stories. I didn't know that I necessarily had one in my head, but then this came to me, and I wanted to tell it a little bit differently. I mean, first off, you're seeing me work on the central image. I wanted to just do one image and do an affectation to that image. I love the idea that originally this started out as a class photo, and then as it went along, and the students were taken, that their eyes would be gone, from the piece. I love the idea that you know that somebody would find this and there would be little holes in the eyes of the actual photograph. The other thing about this that became a lot of fun for me was trying to sort of spread out a little bit and approach this almost as prose. Part of me was tempted as I was doing this. I kind of wanted to see the weird things and weird moments, but I liked the idea of just having it all done in description, in narration from this 15-year-old girl. I think the other fun thing about this was actually telling a story very much from a different point of view than my own. Yeah, it's probably pretty obvious that I'm not a 15-year-old girl from, the 1890s. Um, I had a lot of fun with the language. There's a couple lines in the story that I especially loved thinking about, the, you know, we shall definitely not be friends was one of my favorite lines that I wrote, and it kind of made me laugh. I love, you know, playing with different voices when I write. I, I don't always nail it. I think one of the things that we're constantly haunted by is the idea that we write things and they all just sound like us, just sound very much in our voice. So this was an experiment for me trying to definitely write and create a story that was not in my voice. I I like names a lot, and one of the things that I really had a lot of fun with was kind of naming all of the characters, all the classmates. That was a lot of fun in just a strange way. You always try to write stories, and one of the things that I think about a lot is the old kind of rule where you don't have all of like you want as few characters with the same first letter of their name, in a story, or even you don't want a Sadie and a Zadie if you can help it. There's still some names that sounded similar, but I really tried to you know give everyone interesting names and period feeling names. While I was doing this, I made a whole chart, a list of the names, and kind of trying to not reuse letters from the alphabet. I don't know if that's very interesting or not, but I kind of had a lot of fun with it. This, inking this piece, drawing this piece was a lot of fun. It took quite a while. I I think that penciling it and trying to get all the faces down and really do a simplification, that you'd see kind of from that time period, but making the faces look like they're all from that time period was pretty important to me. I specifically talk about characters, and I know who each character is in the image. I think you can kind of figure it out based on as the story progresses, based on their eyes being burned out. You can kind of tell. But I had a lot of fun just with the style of the story, and I think that that's one of the things that's been really fantastic for me about the Hauntology stories is the opportunity to go in and tell any kind of story the way I want to, exactly the way I want to. It's pure experimentation. And sometimes I don't know that we get to do enough of that in comics. I mean, I think a lot of people do amazing things. They really create fantastic stories and explore ways to vary up the medium. But I think that day in and day out, when you're just having to, try to on a deadline trying to get something done, maybe you don't mess with it enough. And this project, the Hauntology project, has been a real opportunity for me to kind of do that and experiment and have fun with different ways of telling things. I didn't quite know. I knew that this was going to be a few pages. I originally thought of it as 3 pages, where you'd kind of see like the beginning of them, then a bunch of the eyes burned out, and then you'd get to catch the end. As I was doing that, I realized that I had more that I wanted to tell. I really kind of got into the idea of trying to convey her journey and tell a little bit more about what she was doing and the sheer horror of what was happening. I I love stories set in a time period that probably didn't have much. I guess now we know everything about the supernatural based on everything from every horror movie. There's a show called Supernatural, so I think we know all about these things. But we've seen all these stories, and I love the idea that these kids find something terrible in the woods and bring it back with them. This spirit, this demon, this old thing. I think also, this is another story that fits kind of my grander mythos. I love playing with that. I love playing with the idea that there are these old things out there, and God forbid we should find them, or that they should find us. I kind of like the idea that we may see that box again in some of my stories. There's a great thing about building these worlds in these short stories that I can kind of play with this mythology, connecting it back to the larger things. A lot of what we've seen in the Red Mother, and various things like that. We saw in 40 seconds we've seen some stuff. In other Hauntology stories, we've seen the way that some of this connects. One of the big ones that I'm working on still has an even bigger connection to the mythos from the Red Mother and other things we've seen in the realm and various things like that. So yeah, as I finish up this piece, and you're kind of seeing the ends of the this part of the inks. I looked at it and I said, "Oh, this is a lot of fun. I really like the way this turned out," but I kind of wanted it to look a bit different. The stark black and white of just my inks on the paper, didn't quite have the finished effect that I was going for, and so I was like, oh, I want to do I want to push it just a little bit more and kind of give it some extra pop. So I went in and Amber, who I've talked about before, my studio mate that helps do ink fills on these projects. She'll come in at the end of this and fill all these massive areas of black in, but she rinses out her water, and she always keeps it for way, way, way too long, I think. So it's this kind of sludgy ink water, but it makes a great grayscale. And sometimes I have to thin it down, kind of adjust the gray a little bit to make it, however I want. But we took and I thinned it down here and went over this straight, black and white, and it really gave it a neat effect. I think you can see on the pages. I went in and did the ink washes and built those up, and then even did like some really kind of crazy, fun, big splatter. Yeah, I love the way it turned out. So wrapping up, thank you for checking these out. I'll be doing more. This was a quick one, but we'll see more later. All right. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon. Bye.